Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Joy from Joy Stays Free. Just wanted to welcome you all to the Stay Free studio. I'm super excited that you are here, and I'm really excited to just chat with y'all tonight. Last week was really dope. I really enjoyed that particular live because it was the last one of the year. I just want to thank all of my new followers, everybody who's been meeting me on Clubhouse, people who have been meeting me on Instagram. I really appreciate you all rocking with me. It's been so much fun meeting all these new people and new faces and getting to hear all the different struggles that people have and wanting to know how we can walk through them together. So if you don't know, if you're already on Clubhouse, I'm going to be on Clubhouse after this. I'm always there at 10:30 doing the wrap up and kind of just, talking about some different points that were brought up tonight. And then we also are doing a series on Mondays. So typically if you see me on Clubhouse, I'll pop in kind of whenever, but most likely on Monday nights, that's going to be my night for Clubhouse. So at 9:30, that's when I'll be on there. The series is set right now for 9 o'clock. So we're going to be talking about toxicity in relationships. It's going to be really dope. So if you are on Clubhouse, that's where I want you to be. It's going to be super excited what's going on. And just tonight, I just wanted to kind of get some feedback from you all. Really, it's going to be kind of a free-for-all tonight. I want to just talk openly with you. I felt like last week we talked about not really moving forward and making all these different plans without actually sitting down and being still first. I felt like that was super important to do. And so since we did that, I'm in that space right now and just really not trying to do too much except for what was already planned. I already had the green light, to go ahead and do those things in my life, and they were already planned, and I already feel peace for moving forward and doing those things. So I just wanted to kind of chill and talk with you all tonight and just kind of have, different words that kind of just come to me for this new year. Last week we talked about sitting down and making the vision plain. Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for clarifying. I always forget about that with all my new friends. Yes, it's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're on Clubhouse, 9:30 Eastern Standard if you're here on IG Live. So we'll be on Clubhouse later on tonight too if you want to hang out with me then. So if you have questions, let's talk about staying free in this new season that we're in, right? There's so many different things. And then, the memes have been cracking me up all day about social unrest. And I felt like we needed a little break today. So let's just dive. Let's just pop in some questions. I'd like to do Q&A early tonight. Put in some questions about how to stay free in your goal planning this year, things that you can stay free from without, getting caught up with all that's going on. What's going on, Theo? And I'm super excited, for just this whole entire year, and sitting down and really taking my own advice and really doing what I feel that I've been led to do. It's been good. I've been really getting some good insights about how to move forward. And one thing I can just say, let's just start with something daily that we can do to stay free. When it comes to our vision, when it comes to writing those things down and moving forward, it's really important that we don't get distracted, right? So many times distractions are something that people talk about just kind of in oh yeah, we're not gonna get distracted. But distractions are thieves. They will steal your time, they steal your energy, they steal your thought process. And I feel like anytime that we get super distracted from all the things that are going on, whether it's in the media, whether it's family, whether it's things that are going on in our business or at work, whatever those things are, we have to really know to buckle down. And when we're moving into these next spaces, we cannot get distracted. A lot of times you have these ideas and you have these goals and you have these dreams. What's going on, cousin? We have things that we want to do, right? And since we all said that this year we were going to sit down, we were going to take some time and hear what God was going to say to us, it's important to know that there are going to be distractions from getting you off that block. Whatever it is that you needed to know, whatever it is that you want to do, what is distracting you right now? Put some of those things in the chat. What is it that's distracting you? What do you feel like is a distraction and a pull? And we'll talk about how we can stay free from some of those distractions. We're just doing Q&A tonight. I just felt the need to just sit and hang out with you. Share this with some people. If you want to do just free Q&A, that's what we'll do. I'll answer any questions that you have tonight because I just felt like we need to be in a space where we can just freely talk. That's what we do in the Talk Free space here on Talk 3 Thursdays. So distractions are really important, and I feel that it's important to note that when you encounter distractions, the first thing you have to do is stay focused, right? So it's like, that's why it's a distraction, is knocking you off your focus, right? Whatever is coming against your thought process, it could be, just something that you're actually supposed to do. It could just be a shift in your priorities. But whatever that priority is for that moment, if you know you're supposed to be in the moment, spending time with someone or doing something that's really important to your life, that's where we should be. And so here's a comment. I think we allow ourselves to be distracted when we're not 100% focused. Yes. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Angelica or Angelica? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to make sure I got it right. Give me a heart if it's Angelica or Angelica. And I just want to, it's so true. Like, we allow I feel like we invite distractions too, because sometimes distractions are welcome. Like, that's why they're called welcome distractions. Instead of focusing in on that thing that we're really supposed to be focused on, we welcome a distraction. Angelica. Okay, cool. So it's important to note that, like, when we're focused, how do we stay free from those distractions, right? So I feel a few tips to kind of give to stay free from distractions as we move forward into doing like vision casting and vision planning and talking about all these different things we're doing for the different quarters of this year and the different months that we have. First thing to do is, once we write those things down, is to itemize them and list out and schedule your time. Schedule it. Be a good steward of your time. Be a good steward over the things that you've been given to do. It's really, so when it comes down to cleaning, like, I'm a mom. I completely get how it goes when we're running around with moms and stuff. Hey, what's going on, Stacy? I've been, needing to plan, needing to write things down. And it feels like even our kiddos can be a distraction sometimes from what we're supposed to be doing. But then I think about priorities, right? What is the priority at that time? Because sometimes it may not be a distraction. It could be a priority. And in that moment when we need to stay focused, we need to shift our priorities and take it and say, okay, this is not a distraction. We need to reprioritize. And so even though we have these things written down, we have them listed out, they're perfectly planned, leaving space for adjustment is a really good way to eliminate distractions as well. So as a distraction will come in, we'll just use family life as an example. Your home, your cooking, cleaning, whatever it is you need to do, and then family needs you right in that moment, right? What is the priority? Take some time to figure out what is the priority, what is on the to-do list. Can this wait? Is this something that we can move towards? Is it something we can pull back from? It says, I have some tips on the last live. It's so important to share tips and learn from each other. Absolutely. And we'll definitely go check that out. Put the name down at the bottom so that we know which live to go check out. And it's important to have your priorities in order so you know what you can be focused on, right? So we're talking about several different things here. Your priorities. Are your priorities in line? What is the most important thing? What takes precedence? Then we're talking about distractions. Are there distractions that come against those priorities? And then in the in the distracting of like from your priorities, where is your focus in each priority, right? So I love how you all are bringing up these different topics, and we're just doing Q&A tonight. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the question box. It really can be about anything tonight, because I feel like we just need to have a free space to talk about the things that are kind of pressing on us right now. So let's just kind of have free dialogue. I feel like that's super important to do. So priorities, like, okay, so what's the priority? Like, what are some of your priorities right now? Like, put them in the chat. What are you prioritizing in 2021? Like, what's a priority? For me, I'm always an advocate of self-care. Self-care is a huge priority. Working Women Whistle, episode 5. Dope. I love that. Working Women Whistle. I love that. That's super cool. Episode 5. So go check that out, guys. That'd be fun to go check out. It's called, for the replay squad, Working Women Whistle, Angelica.Jeremiah29, Jeremiah29:11, which is ANGELICA.JER2911. All right, cool. Hashtag Working Women Whistle, episode 5. What are the priorities for your life right now? Put some down in the chat. I would love to see them. For me, self-care is super important. And I realized throughout the past few years of my life, for some of you who don't know my story, I felt extremely neglected, right? And it wasn't just a feeling. Like, I was extremely neglected. Like, I neglected myself. I was neglected in my marriage. I was neglecting, like, community, when it came to like being around other, believers of my faith. Like, it was really difficult for me in different seasons of my life to stay connected with myself, with God, with other people, because of the things that I was going through. And because in those dark seasons, it was difficult to keep those priorities in line, I lost sight of what really was supposed to be important. I was putting other people before me instead of really hunkering down and saying, hey, Joy, you are important, because if you're not taking care of yourself, everything else is going to falter. If you're not fostering and catering to and nurturing that relationship with you and the Lord, and you and yourself even, looking yourself in the face and saying, yo, like, we got this. We can do this. We can get out of bed today. We can move forward. Encouraging yourself. That's something that's really important that we need to do. So here's some of your other priorities. Go ahead and put some in the chat. Fitness, family, and finances. Faith, that's a huge one. Those are huge ones this year. And I feel that fitness, mental fitness, emotional fitness, financial fitness, like all of those fall under fitness. Like, those are super important. So I'm super glad y'all are prioritizing those things. You have to prioritize those things, because guess what? If you don't prioritize your mental fitness, your emotional fitness, like, you can't think, you can't breathe. Your physical fitness is super important. That's something I'm prioritizing this year too. I have some really cool things coming out for you guys too. If you've known me for a while, you know that I'm also a fitness professional, and I do like fitness coaching, and rolling out some client stuff later. For you guys to have some packages to merge your faith and your fitness, because it's so important for us to recognize the way we eat and the way we move our body as something that we should be doing and merging with our faith, right? So a lot of times they're separated. A lot of Eastern religions do that, but in Christianity, for those of you who don't know, I'm a Christian, and so that's something that needs to be merged with your faith, with your walk with God. You have to merge that fitness walk with Him, because if you don't dedicate that to Him, it's just another thing that you just check off on your list. So I just want to encourage us, as we make these fitness goals, we can get into that. I would love to get into fitness with you all. Let's talk about creating fitness goals and the goals for our finances. How are we gonna save this year? How are we gonna give this year? Do you plan on being a bigger giver this year in general? Like, are you planning on being a bigger saver this year? How are you helping others with your finances? How are you building legacy and financial stability with your finances this year? Like, these are all questions that we have to reflect and kind of utilize and sit before God, just like we talked about in the last live. As you sit down and you sit to hear what God is going to say to you, it's really important that we bring these questions up and say, God, what are the priorities that you want for me this year? How are we going to order these things for this year? So I'm so glad you brought that up, because faith right now, I feel, is such it's such an important, whether you want to call it foundation or stone or pillar in your life or priority, that a lot of people don't cater, right? They do not cater to the foundation and the essential priority of faith. Sorry, I'm getting notifications. Faith is super important because it's your anchor. It's your anchor. It's the thing that holds you down. It's something that we all have to know, that is something that's really important to focus on, right? Like, when your faith in God is wavering, your faith in self, your faith in others, your faith in everything else wavers. You can't think straight. You don't have direction. You're all over the place. You're feeling drained. Everything that's going on in the world, you gotta be anchored somewhere. Are you going to be anchored in something that's actually going to last, or are you going to be anchored in something that's going to be futile, or something that's just going to pass away? Are you going to self-medicate with, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol? What are we self-medicating with? Are we self-medicating with social media? Talking with our friends? Sometimes you can be coping with people, like with conversation, because I'm an extrovert and I love to talk to people. Like, I just love it. But sometimes I have to realize that you have to pull that back, and instead of talking so much to others, you talk to God first. Talk to close people in your circle about things that are going on with you. Create a nice circle around you where, when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling down, when everything that is going on in the world feels like the ground is coming out from under you, trust and believe, I have been there, and I know what it's like to feel like the ground is coming out from under me, to be in a hole, to be in a pit, and to feel like there's nothing that you can count on in life. If it were not for my faith in God, if it had not been for God, if it had not been for my relationship with him, reading his word and the words jumping out of the page, and really him speaking to me in those quiet moments when I felt hurt, when I felt betrayed, when I felt taken advantage of, all of those different things, that comes from, you having that priority of faith. Like, my faith is a priority. So how can we make that a priority in our lives? Like, what are you all doing to make your faith a priority, right? And we can go down the list because we named some really good things. How can we prioritize our faith? So here's some of the comments. Yes, protect yourself first thing in the morning with prayer and meditation. And y'all, if you guys are getting this like first release, and I know a lot of people in the replay are going to hear this, but the Free Conqueror Squad, like, that is what we are called. We are called conquerors here. Like, anybody who rocks with me on the Stay Free Studio, like, you are called conquerors. And that is really coming from, you are more than a conqueror. Like, more than a conqueror in Christ. Like, when we understand who we are and we know our identity, again, goes back to that self-care, affirming yourself and telling yourself who you are and who God, the Creator, has created you to be. There's nothing anybody can define you as. No one can tell you anything, really. No one can say, oh, you're this, you're not that. Even you can't tell yourself those things, because even when you bring it up, you'll be like, you know what? That's not who I am. Sis, you're going to have to change that. Sorry. I have to correct myself all the time. I'm like, no, sis, we don't do that no more. That's not who we are. That's how I talk to me, though, because that's how I can take it. I'm cool with that. I'm like, no, sis, no. That's not what we're talking about tonight. It's true. Like, you have to self-talk yourself. Like, even the other night, I meal prepped, right? It was really easy. I'm supposed to be eating super clean right now. I've been having a really hard time the first few days out the gate. And last year, for those of you who don't know, I went vegan, right? And so as I've been learning how to go vegan, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, like, I've been saying to myself, oh, it's so hard to meal prep. Oh, I find it so hard to meal prep. I've been saying that to myself, right? Knowing daggone well, I've meal prepped before. I've, like, years. I mean, like, I have experience in doing this. It's not like something I can't do, right? I've meal prepped before. I've successfully, gone through programs before. I've successfully gone through my own program several times over just to make sure that it works. And honestly, these are things that I know I can do. And the reason I'm not doing them, or that I'm not as successful on certain days as other days, yes, like, you got to correct yourself. It's super important to do. And oh my gosh, let's talk about that plant-based life and how, oh my gosh, like, so I'm in the kitchen and I'm fixing a salad. Now, I'm not really big on salad because crunching and stuff like that, it's just like a lot of work for me, right? So I'm just like, oh, okay. But I fixed the salad. I fixed my son some pasta and broccoli. It's his favorite. Like, he loves steamed broccoli. He loves vegetables. And it was the easiest thing. As I'm boiling the pasta, just for a quick tip, you just pop it in there. Like, I steamed the broccoli first, and then I pulled the broccoli out and then threw the pasta in. Like, it was super easy. And I looked over to myself and I was like, why do I keep telling myself that this is hard? It's not hard. It's not hard. It's hard because you're saying it's hard. You're telling yourself it's hard. So if your best friend is telling you something, right? Or like a close friend, a close family member, and they're like, oh my gosh, I went through that program, it was so hard. Or, oh my goodness, I did this and it was so difficult. You're going to take their word for it. So what better voice do you know besides yourself? If you keep telling yourself something is hard, you keep telling yourself something's difficult, you're going to believe yourself, because you're like, oh my gosh, I have to trust that person. Like, I got to trust him. I got to trust her. Believe what you're saying that comes out of your mouth is affecting you. So I want to encourage us, like, you have to stop talking to yourself in a way that's negative. Don't negative self-talk yourself. Talk to yourself in a way that's important. Like, this is easy. See how easy it is to meal prep? Like, it's super important to do, right? So what are some of the other things? Okay, so vegan life, we talked about that. We're just hanging out. So as people are coming in, just know we're just hanging out. We're just, if you have questions, put them in the box. We've been talking about priorities and focus and getting ourselves together for this year, and some of the mindsets that we need to leave behind, just so that we can continue to move forward and be in a free mental, emotional, and spiritual space. Okay, it's really important. So again, I really didn't have any agenda for you all tonight, because I'm in this space where I really just need to sit down and really hear what God is saying to me for this year. So I didn't really do too much planning for our lives, but I just wanted to get some feedback from you all. What are some of those things we're prioritizing? How can we further the convo? So, good points in the chat. We have to correct ourselves. It's important to do that. I want to go back to the prayer meditation in the morning as well, when we talked about that earlier. And so funny, you just told your daughter the same thing. Yes. I mean, like, I told my son that, like, oh, is that what we're going to say today? Is that what we're talking about today? And he's like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. So I find that when we do it, our kids do it as well. When I correct myself, my son goes, oh, Mom. One of the things we talked about in a few lives before is that we don't say, I love you, but. I don't know if people find themselves saying that. But a while back, I kind of heard other people saying it, and then I found myself going, son, oh my gosh, I love you, but can we please stop? Or can we do this, that, and the third? And I was like, why would I say, it just kind of rolls off the tongue. And I was like, why would I say I love you, but? Like, that doesn't make sense. Say I love you, stop, and then just move on and say whatever else you have to say. Son, I love you, ... Could you please pick up your toys? Like, can you please A, B, and C, okay? My biggest joy for 2020 in life. So the question is, what was my biggest joy? And is that for, like, oh my goodness, I could name a lot of them, that's for sure. I would say my biggest joy right now in life is this pandemic allowing me to work from home. So as a business owner and a person who's still, like, I'm transitioning from my 9 to 5. So yeah, so for 2020, my biggest joy in 2020, and I want you all to answer this as well. This is a really good question, so thanks for this one. My biggest joy in 2020 was being able to stay home with my son and work from home. Like, it has been the big, like, for some people, 2020 was the most devastating year ever. And I completely, I honestly sympathize, and I can honestly sit with you in that and empathize, because I talked about this a few weeks ago about 2020 is actually like almost like the seventh time I've been in a quarantine, and I would love to talk more about that. But I've been in quarantine before in different seasons of my life when everybody else got to go out and do whatever they wanted to do. I was stuck in the house and I couldn't come out, right? Whether it was self-imposed, whether it was because of the abusive marriage that I was in, whether it was because I was stranded and didn't have any resources to get where I needed to go. So many different reasons I had been quarantined in the past 10 years. That 2020, when we sat down, was not a surprise to me. I had been prepared for it, and it was like, okay, gotta stay in the house. Big whoop. Like, it wasn't even anything I thought was a big deal for me mentally or emotionally. It also was an answered prayer. When they told me I had to stay home with my child and work, that is the dream. That is my dream. If nobody knows what I want to do, that's what sis wants to do, okay? I would love to be home with my child, raise my child, homeschool my kids. I would love to do that. Love it. So when they told us that we needed to sit down and do that, and we're talking, for those of you who are just coming in, like, my biggest joy of 2020 was being able to do what I've prayed for years to be able to do. And I didn't get to do that because I felt like my first few years with my son had been taken from me because of the financial predicament that I was put in because of my marriage. I had to go out and work. I had to get it. I had to grind because I was being forced into that predicament. I couldn't rest. I had to go out and get it. In my family, most women stay home at least the first 3 years. My parents typically stay home 5 years. A lot of the women stay home. I was forced to not be able to do that. I had to go out and get it. I had to get a job. What's going on, Say? I had to go and do that. And so because of that, we're just chatting here. And for everybody that's coming in new, one of the questions that was posted tonight was, what was my greatest joy of 2020? So I'm in the middle of telling that story. And so in the midst of all the drama that happened to me before, where my baby was 1 and I had to go back to work with him being 1 year old, I was like, what? Like, I don't want to go back to work. He's only 12 months. I didn't want to leave that baby at home. It breaks my heart to think I had to leave him every day for a part-time job and being forced to be in a predicament where my partner was not going to work. He could not do it mentally for whatever reason. There was just no way that he was able to do it, to the point where he had to be committed at one point. He couldn't even watch the baby because his mental health was so unstable that he couldn't even watch the baby at one point. We had to put him in preschool. So I say all that to say 2020 for me, the greatest joy of my life in the past 10 years was 2020. 2020 was answered prayer like no one's ever seen. I was telling my dad this like the other day. I prayed like never before in 2020. I got to spend time with my family like never before in 2020. I built my business that I was never able to start in the past 10 years. I was able to get that thing off the ground. I got divorced in 2020, and that was not a bad thing. That was a good thing for me. I was released to move on and be free in my life. And I just feel like for all the pain that happened in 2020, if you can't ride on anybody's joy, ride on mine. Like, if you cannot be happy for anything that happened in 2020, be happy for the fact that I got out, I got free. I was like, there was so much happening. What's going on? What's going on, TK? A new neighbor that I met today. Thanks for joining us. We're just chatting tonight. Usually I have an agenda, but we're just talking freely tonight. This is the Stay Free Studio, so welcome. We're super happy to have you. And so, like, you gotta count every single little thing. Recount those things that happen. I'm actually gonna sit down with my family this weekend. I'm gonna sit down with my dad this weekend and talk through what we did in 2020. We actually built programs in 2020. My dad launched a business. My mom launched a business. Like, all kinds of crazy stuff was going on under the scenes. I was able to really sit down. Yeah, it has so many blessings. Yeah, I gotta plug up. I don't think this plug is working. But yeah, like, there were so many blessings. It was super important to note. I'm just gonna shift you all a little bit because I don't think this plug is actually working. But so many blessings came in 2020 that I was super excited about. And when I was able to actually start that business, like, it was such a release for me. Like, even being able to, like, even right before that, when we talked about finances being a blessing, right? Okay, so in the comments, as I'm moving you all around, so many similarities, divorcing, more time with kids, stay-at-home job, so many blessings. And so y'all, like, everybody else who's in here, put some other of your joys in 2020. What were some of the other great things that happened to you last year? Because I feel like when we can talk about those wins, when we can talk about those awesome things that happened to us in 2020, like, that's something that we can focus on those things, and it will fuel us to know that there are some great things coming ahead too, right? Like, there are some great things that are coming for us in the future, not just for this year, but for any year after this, right? So y'all are nice and close today because the other plug is not working as good, but y'all will be nice and close. What else? Like, add some other things in here. I'm super excited, and I'm glad that you asked that because I love sharing that testimony with you. And honestly, I encourage you all to, at least with one person this week, share some of your wins from last year. If you had some wins last year, you got some dope ideas, you created new things, you know, like, you were more active on social, you had new friends, whatever that was, like, put that in. So here in the comments, found skills, headbands, found skills I didn't know I had, and got opportunities that definitely revealed dead dreams. Oh my goodness. When I tell you, that is another one for me as well. Yes. I have to let that one sink in. In a space where you're not able to be busied with other things, so much is found. Like, so much is found. I actually was super artistic last year. I rehabbed like two or three things in my home that I just wanted to do. I became a plant mom last year too. I bought plants and started learning how to take care of plants. That was mad random for me because I was always a person that was like, oh my gosh, I can't take care of plants. They always die. Last year I got some plants, y'all. I went to a nursery for the first time last year. I was like, a plant nursery. I was like, oh my goodness, I love it here. All right, what else we got? I realize I'm worthy of greatness and I don't need everyone to agree with my choices. Sis, yes. Celebrated my 1 year in ministry and finished my first year of divinity school. Yes, that is super exciting. That is so exciting. And I'm celebrating with y'all. I really am, because these are really important wins. And we have to share them out with each other and with other people, because it fuels us to know that in spite of all the craziness that's going on, y'all, we can stay free from complaints, from negative thinking, from negative habits. We can stay free from getting caught up in all the stuff that goes on around us and being so bogged down with what's going on, and keeping our eyes on everything else and keep our eyes focused on God, because God is the one that's really showing us, like, my hand is in this. I got you. I have it. I got you. Don't worry about it. And we can bank on that. So earlier we were talking about that. Like, we can bank on the fact that when we build our faith and it's a firm foundation for us, like, God's got it, y'all. He's got it. Found an amazing therapist that's walking with me through old trauma and letting healing come through. Come through healing. Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. So many different things. So many different things we can say about 2020. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us too. We really appreciate it. Go ahead. We definitely are appreciative of you being here. So have a great evening. So people are checking out. They gotta go. So I just want everybody to be encouraged. Like, we're just talking free here because we need spaces to do this. So I'm glad that it was organic and we could just talk free tonight in the Stay Free studio. Celebrate your wins. We talked about priorities. Keep your eyes on God. Like Angelica saying, like, we got to do it. Keeping your eyes on God, keeping your eyes focused on the thing that really matters, your priorities, not getting distracted by all the things that are going on around us. Because honestly, when we go to scripture, distractions are what usually catches people up, right? Not keeping your eyes focused on what we're supposed to be doing. And I love this time because a lot of people are doing fasting right now. So let me give you guys a little fasting nugget, right? When Jesus is in the wilderness and he does his 40 days in the wilderness and he is fasting and he's out in the wilderness, in that time, Satan comes to tempt him. A distraction, like complete distractions. Let me get you to focus on, power. Let me get you to focus on everything around you. Let me get you to focus on all these other things. And what does Jesus say in one of those responses? He says, man will not live on bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. Quoting the scriptures. That's what he does. So I feel like what better example than God himself showing us what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Focus on God's word. Focus on the people around you that are able to encourage you and to uplift you and you can share your wins with, that you're not going to complain with, that are not going to be like Job's friends, like, yeah, maybe God did forget you. No, he didn't forget you in 2020. He's not going to forget you in 2021. You're going to get through it. You're going to build. You're going to grow. You're going to prosper. Like, I'm encouraged. Self-talk yourself into these things because talking yourself out of it is not going to do anything for you. It's just not. So next week, we may have some other things to talk through next week. I may have an agenda for y'all. I may not. But like I said, from last week, we're just going to chill. Like, I just want to chill. I just want to be here. I want to be present for you because I said I'm going to be here every Thursday at 9:30. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm here. So, as always, I want you all to stay free. We talked about different ways of staying free from negative mindsets tonight by keeping our priorities straight. Fitness is a good priority. We talked about faith is a priority. Family is a priority. Self-care is a priority. Your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health is a priority. Do not get caught up in the hype and thinking that you have to be busy to be productive. That's not the case. That's not the case. If you did one good thing that was a part of your priority, if one thing you got accomplished today or even tomorrow, if you have one thing that you need to do tomorrow, and you didn't do anything else throughout the rest of the day but shower, brush your teeth, and eat healthy, and work out and pray, because I feel like that's what we need to do. If you didn't do anything else but that and that one thing that got you closer to that foundation of a priority, you're winning. You straight up winning. So join me. I'm headed over to Clubhouse just to hang out. I actually might go hang out on Facebook for a little while first, but I'm going to be on Clubhouse. If you're not following me, I'm on Joy Stays Free on all platforms. The merch is about to drop. So if you are excited about the Stay Free t-shirts and the Stay Free hoodies, you definitely got to see those. I'm going to drop some photos and everything like that in the next few days. I have a Black History line and just the basic line that's coming out because February is coming. So I cannot wait to do that. Love you too. I'm so super excited. Definitely check out Hannah Band. She got some dope bands over there. And Shot by TK, thank you for joining me. We met today, but I saw your photography and your videography. It looks so dope. So definitely go check him out as well. And Angelica has some dope stuff. If you didn't check it out, rewind this because I left I spelled out her name and what you should check out earlier in the live. So when you're replaying this, you'll hear it from the beginning, but if you came in late, you can go back and replay it when I post it. And she has a post on and a live about priorities and how to like reorganize too. So Super excited for all of us. I'm really encouraged. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate the joys that you had in 2020 so that you can fuel yourself up, knowing that there is greater coming in this year, that there will be wins this year. No matter what happens, there will be wins. So you gotta kind of bank on that. So in the meantime, until I see y'all next week, like I said, I'm going to be present, and we will see you next week here in the Stay Free Studio on Thursdays at 9:30 with me, Joy, and I will talk to y'all later. Stay free.